Welcome to the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast, bringing you the country's top podcast on the subject of internet marketing. I'm your host, Glenn Thayer, and today we're going to discuss the About Us page. I'm here today with the CEO of Intuitive Websites, Thomas Young. Tom, how should a company talk about themselves on their website?
Well, it's interesting that, we've spent almost 50 podcasts now talking about how to talk to your customers and your users on your website. This is really the first podcast we've done that really gets into the About Us page and how you should talk about yourself. And the About Us page gives you free license and free reign to talk about yourself. This is the place where people come to learn about your company. And it's interesting because it's easy to talk about yourself, and people love to do that. And it's always more challenging to talk about what your customers need or what the benefits that you provide to customers.
What would be an example of something that you've seen people do that is wrong on the About Us page? Before we jump into the things that here's what you should have, let's talk about what are kind of no-nos for the About Us page.
Well, it's funny because I like to look at what is the real root cause of some of the problems we've seen. And really the root cause is they don't take this page seriously enough. They focus their efforts on their services page and their home page and their design, the graphics and that sort of thing. And the About Us tends to be an afterthought. And so they put the About Us page up there, and maybe they'll put a paragraph of information, or maybe they'll put a couple notes about one of the key players in the company or something. But no, the About Us needs more thought. It needs more strategy, and it needs attention. Because here's the bottom line. If someone comes to the About Us page, they're not doing that just because they're clicking around your site, surfing, and seeing what they can find. They have a high degree of interest in your company. And we've seen that in user testing, that clicks to the About Us page tend to be from the most qualified users. People that aren't interested in your company or website, they leave pretty quick. But if they come to the About Us page, there is a high level of interest. So we want to have a real solid, good page there.
Would that be kind of like the equivalent of going into your doctor's office and looking at all the diplomas and all the degrees that he has to make sure that he's qualified?
Yeah, it's interesting. Just being in the office is kind of like an About Us page, because you're in the office, in the doctor's office, and you look around and you say, yeah, credible. I see nurses, I see assistants, I see other people walking around, I see diplomas on the wall. Yep, that adds up. I see books. So all that stuff adds up to trust and credibility, which what you're doing then with your About Us page is you're taking basically let's say the average user comes in, and you're super qualifying them when they visit the About Us page, because there's a high level of interest there. And then if that About Us page matches with what they saw on your home page and what they identify with your brand, then you've hit a home run with the About Us page, and I think they'll move to a conversion. Your home page really needs to function as the branding resource for the site. The immediate impression is the home page. So that's where your immediate brand is seen. And if your brand then is carried through to the About Us page and it's supported by the About Us page, then you're building high levels of trust and credibility, whether you're an e-commerce site or a service-based company, whatever kind of work you do.
Well, how do you have an example of how the About Us page would reinforce a brand?
Well, it's interesting because I thought about this. What's a really good example? And our website, intuitivewebsites.com, does that. And we really focus on the team that's going to work on your web project and our clients. I think that site does a good job of that. And then all the additional content and resources also support not only the About Us and the folks on the website, but also our brand and our statement and what we offer. But I can give you another example. I mean, say for example, you're selling leather wallets on the web, and say you're selling these wallets from Italy with Italian leather, which we've talked about before. Then you want to see these really cool Italian leather wallets and good photography and product descriptions. But when you go to the About Us page, about the company that makes the wallets, what do you want to see? Well, you want to see supportive content about that brand, about how they make the wallets, how they came into business, who are the key people behind the making of the Italian leather wallets, and so forth. That all supports the purchase decision.
Well, what else? It's pretty much, it sounds like it's more of a corporate resume is pretty much what an About Us page
is. It is in some ways, and it's funny because when you think about going to get a job interview, your resume gets kind of a superficial look, right, usually. But then it's the interview that really does it. The interview, how you do in the interview and that sort of thing. But the About Us is so important. I mean, if you go to an interview without a resume, or if you go to an interview with a resume that's inadequate, people are going to look at that and say, well, maybe the interview shouldn't continue, or they're going to put you at the bottom of the stack. So the About Us page can definitely be considered a company resume. Absolutely.
Well, what should they have? What should somebody have in an About Us page? I mean, should it be one page? Should it be multiple pages? What should be in there?
Well, and I've never really seen a page that has all these things, but I thought if you have the perfect About Us page, and actually we could probably do this on our own website, there's several things you could do, and they're all, I think, really cool. Number one is talk about your philosophy and your business approach. Talk about the fundamental importance parts of your business. If you have a mission statement or if you have a theme about your company, put that on the About Us page. Talk about your company history. There's a lot of firms out there that have been in business for 50 plus years. I love to see that. I love to see the history of the company. I like to see the old black and white photos with captions, I like to see our founder, who looks like Ben Franklin or something, with a little caption underneath, here's Grandpa in 1909 or whatever. I love to see that because, once again, it builds incredible levels of trust and credibility. Definitely include the key people on your management team, or on if you have a small business, the entire company. Include photos of them with brief bios and captions on the photos. One of the mistakes I've seen on About Us pages is that people will put photos of key staff people on the About Us page with no link to any content. And you look at that and you go, well, who's the guy on the photo? Yeah. He must work with the company, but I don't know who he is. Well, it happens because the people that develop the website know who the guy is, and they just lose touch that the users don't know. So use captions on the photos. Other things to include, if you're B2B, client lists, logos of your clients, testimonials from clients, or if you're B2C, testimonials from customers with a photo of a customer.
And a lot of that would also be crossover throughout the site, is having those testimonials throughout the site.
You could do that. Well. You could link back to the About Us page, but keep in mind, this is your online resume. This is the place where people should go to see that one nutshell of who you are. And other things like case studies. If you have an office and you have a building or a location, that's a good place to put the photo with a caption explaining, this is our location, this is our address. Other photos and content, or a video that's an introduction to your company, all of that can go on the About Us page. If you strengthen this page and you make it really work for you, and it connects to your brand, people are going to skim through this information. It's going to reinforce trust and credibility, and then hopefully they'll move to a conversion.
One of the quick thing on case studies, just to drive the point home, because I know some companies have extremely in-depth case studies, depending on how
depending on the industry,
complex their industry is. So obviously, case studies, you want to have a little overview of, hey, this is what we've done with these people. This is how we've helped this client. Mm-hmm. And if you want a more in-depth, here's the link to the case studies page where we go through it, and it's a long, a long-winded page, if you will.
And it can be. It's a good approach because there are people that want that level of detail. And I've said this before in other podcasts, if you are a technical firm, an engineering firm, a firm that needs detail, then have a brief synopsis on the About Us page, and then have them click through and get pages of detail. It will help you. It will support your brand. It'll give you better placement in Google, lots of keywords in those types of articles, and it'll help drive conversions.
So how does the About Us page drive conversions?
Yeah, it's funny because we talked about that visitors are highly qualified on this page. So the first thing you want to do, and this may sound obvious, but you want to make it easy for them to contact you from your About Us page. So there's nothing wrong with putting contact information right on the About Us page. And you want to track your clicks to the About Us page, find out what they were looking at before they came in there, where they go after they left. I think it would be a big red flag on your website if the top exit page on your site was the About Us page, because basically what they're saying is, checked you out, looked at the About Us page, realized it wasn't a good fit, we left. What you want them to do is move from the About Us page to contact us, or put contact information right there on the page and let them reach you immediately.
Well, we've talked about this before on other podcasts about having contact information on every single page.
Yes.
Maybe not thorough contact information, like here's our mailing address, but at least have a way to, here, pick up the phone and call us if you're on a page. And I don't know how many times I still, to date, go to websites and I'm looking all around. I'm like, where's the phone number? I'm at the home page, no phone number. I look at every single page. There's only one place the phone number is. It's on the Contact Us page.
Yes, and there's no reason why you can't put the phone number on the About Us page. And actually, if you're an e-commerce site, there's no reason why you can't put a coupon or a special promotion or something to drive more interest on the About Us page. And I would be fine with doing it there and nowhere else on the site. Because once again, you got to think of these folks as a highly qualified person that's coming in and checking you out. Give them some conversion points. And actually, we have podcasts on conversions. Those conversion points can be right on that About Us page.
Well, as our regular listeners know, we have an action item plan after each podcast. Tom, what are the key items for our listeners?
Well, take your About Us page seriously. We just covered several things to do. Build and write or improve your current About Us page. Probably the most important thing you can do is make sure that it is in your main navigation menu and it shows up on every page of your website. And you should have a static main navigation menu, and About Us should be in there. Get some user feedback on the About Us page. This is a great page to get feedback on. Even if you have the easiest website in the world to use, have some people give you feedback on the branding from the homepage and the consistency of the branding to the About Us page. Is your company history and what you do consistent with what your homepage says that you do? Okay. Also, look at the items in this podcast. I gave you actually a list of things to include. It'll be on the blog as well. And then finally, measure stats to this page and consider it as maybe not the most important conversion page. There are other pages for that. But consider it a key conversion point on your site. If you're driving traffic to the About Us page, then your site's doing a pretty good job.
And Tom, speaking of feedback, we wanted to thank all of our listeners for all of the comments that all of you have been posting on the web and on iTunes. We really appreciate it. We love having you all listen to the podcast. Keep the comments coming. If you've got suggestions on things that you would like to hear us cover, please leave that as well, because we'd be happy to answer those questions. Folks, thanks for joining us. And on the next podcast, we're going to be talking about the Contact Us page. So be sure to check that one out as well.
This has been an Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. For more information and to see all the available podcasts and much more, visit intuitiveblog.com.